Okay, so we're at ITSM17 and I am with the incorrigible David Wright.
Hi Dave. Afternoon, how are you, Barclay?
I'm doing well, how are you?
It's been really good so far. It's been an interesting day and a very odd time to be part of ITSM, don't you think?
I thought I'm asking the questions.
I thought I'd turn that around then just for a second. See if I can get that out of you. Yeah.
So, don't you think it's a very odd time to be?
Do you know, funny enough, it is. Yeah, it is actually. It's been a fantastic year. I think what we've seen and are seeing from a change capacity in organisations is really starting to make us think differently about what's happening out there, how organisations are adopting newer technologies, not adopting, but adopted newer technologies in service, specifically from a service desk perspective at that front end, at that front-facing end of that interaction with the customer too. So we're looking at things like, chatbots, the introduction, actually working, physically working organisations. We're looking at robotic process automation and how that's adding value to organisations. We've seen all this happen very quickly. So it's been a very interesting year.
So let's just pin in on that. Robotic process automation in a service desk. Give me an example of what that actually is.
So what we've seen is our organisations are investing in efficiency. Yeah, if you look at productivity, if you look at efficiency, if you look at utilisation, we're seeing organisations who are partnering with other organisations who are specifically changing the dynamics of service. So if you've got an end-to-end process or an end-to-end business process, they're removing the people out of people, process and technology. They're taking that out and they're marrying up the technology with the process. And they're doing that using virtual sort of technology or robotic technology, bots, whatever you want to call it. So if you take for example, a simple password reset, where we would normally take a call, we would do some security check, we would then unlock an account, we'd record that in a system, we'd close it, and that's it. We're taking that sort of low value element of the process away, and we're seeing organizations put robotic process automation in there to make it a better process, actuating process. You do away with things like human error. You do away with things like that, yeah? So we're seeing quite a bit of that.
How is that different though? Because 15, 20 years ago, when I worked in the mainframe, we used to have products like CA Opera where you could automate responses to the console. And we sort of removed about 80% of console traffic, and we fixed about 20% of errors and stuff like that. Just give me a sense of how, because password reset is one thing.
Yeah, it's a simple, yeah.
I mean, when you say robotic process automation, are you talking about request management? Are you talking about resolving technical issues?
I think it's wherever there's a capability to automate a process. It's as simple as that. So you're absolutely right. We're seeing historically, automation through macros, through scripting, change slightly differently. And there's some brilliant organizations out there that are pulling together the technology with data, integrating, so data sets, really good data sets with integration, and using that to actuate process. It's really about a more effective way of delivering process, essentially. So wherever there's the ability to automate a process, we've seen examples of organizations who've taken the front end as in a sales cycle, for example, even though it's not IT, right? Yeah, but obviously it's a business process, taking it right the way from the front end interaction with the customer through the whole process. So the output is the customer it doesn't sound new when you think of something like a business process or a sales cycle through Amazon, a similar thing to that essentially, but in an intuitive form where the user doesn't have to interact with an individual because the process does the job. It's self-remediating in some parts, it's self-learning.
So that's fine. I mean, I think that I'm just trying to kind of get clarity on that, because when you say things like robotic process, it sounds like Blade Runner.
It does sound, doesn't it?
And, we're still talking about Amazon.
Yes.
We're not talking about Star Wars.
No, we're not. We're not yet.
No aliens.
Not yet.
Google.
Not yet.
Okay, but it's just doing more of that and doing more of it at the front end.
Yeah, I think there's some organisations that we've seen that have adopted just new ways of working and using technology exponentially to change service. So one organisation I was with a couple of weeks back in Romania, they'd been using one very well-known tool set to actuate all that. And they've had it in for about 18 months, and they started to optimize these processes now. So they're pushing an awful lot through. And in fact, they've got to revise CSF over the next year to automate 50% of their workload that comes into the service desk. Yes, as a CSF, which is incredible. They've also got another CSF by 2019 that they'll have a chatbot in service. So we're starting to see organizations very quickly just move away from this old school sort of, best practice and coordinated sort of process management into just almost shooting for the stars when it comes down to changing exponentially what they can do with technology.
So just on chatbots for a minute, the service desk chatbot. So we're talking there about online chat. I've got an issue with my printer or something like that, and to what extent in the service desk arena, I mean, what kind of percentage levels are we talking that are running those kind of?
Yeah, so we've did a little bit of research just to stick our fingers in that, right? After the middle of this year, because we saw a dramatic shift in what was happening. So at the moment, based on some stats that we pulled together about sort of 3 months ago, of the organisations we surveyed, 4% had already implemented this type of technology and service. 4%. And there was some 60% that hadn't done anything yet, and some 40% that was engaged. So either implemented, exploring, or partnering. Yeah. So 4% had actually implemented, and the rest of the 40% was doing something about it, and then 60% that wasn't really there yet. So that's quite a number. It's not a huge number when you look at organisations that have implemented, but some of these organisations are big multinational organisations that have got there themselves very quickly, and we're seeing that in Romania, in India, in the UK, in Mexico. This is a subject that people are really trying to grasp hold of quickly, not only to change service, but to differentiate themselves in a very competitive market as well. So the change is happening pretty quickly, quite rapidly. I think for us, it's about what that means for the service desk. It's about how a service desk, how you reskill people, how you continually reskill people as services augment and orchestrate. The sort of the relationship between technology and the human orchestrates. And certainly, I've got this theory about we look at people process technology. If you're removing the people from that part and you're taking the process into another sphere to manage it, then really you're looking at people service technology. And I've just got this thing about service. I know it sounds cliched, isn't it? That customer experience service, the service desk, the sort of power shift, the power shift back to centric services driven by the specialists, by people who've been doing that for years and years and years. So it's a very interesting time to be part of the service desk.
That thing where there's more automation, there's less human contact, but actually the human contact has got to be so much better.
Yes.
When it actually happens.
When it falls over, you're absolutely right.
Do you think there are more organisations on their service desk that realise that, or is that still something that
it's still very new for many. Barclay, I think it's fair to say. Certainly some of the research we've done, the organisations that are actuating, that are implementing, I think don't fully understand ethically what this means for their organisation. You're going to have a mix of organisations why they want to do it, and certainly cost effectiveness will be part of that. And for me, it's ethically how this technology will be borne out. So we've seen organisations who have gone to market, looked for these types of these tool sets, engaged with 30 vendors on the market, for example, and started to implement. I think it's only, and one of the questions I recently asked one organisation was, how are you going to reskill your staff? And they couldn't answer that. Now, that's a tough question to ask yourself once you've implemented this technology. So I think we'll just see organisations. Yeah, it's a question you should be asking before you implement, rather than as you're implementing or post-implementation. Yeah.
And then you fire everybody.
And then you fire everybody. I think ideally that certainly what we've seen again from some of the research we've done about the concerns over career changes. There are still going to be jobs. People will still be required, but it'll be in a different dynamic. It'll be to support these sort of automated processes, or support the AI or cognitive sort of solution to support and sit behind that. So orchestrating the service, physically changing, continually looking at the customer journey and orchestrating that as the business changes as well. So imagining a situation where IT actually sort of puts a thing in place, but it's governed maybe by IT, but it's run and managed by the business. Yeah, it's a slightly different dynamic. Yeah.
Okay, well, sounds fascinating.
It is fascinating.
As ever. What, just briefly, what's happening with SDI? Any new stuff coming along?
Yeah, it's been a busy year. I think we're looking certainly internationally to expand more effectively than we've done over the last year. I think we've learned a lot of lessons. We've been engaged with some fantastic people internationally. Latin America, Mauricio Corona, and what we've done there over the last year has been phenomenal. Our second conference there with the last president involved speaking as well. In fact, you were there, Barclay, so it was a fantastic event.
I became president.
That was before you became president. But other areas as well, we're working on. I think scaling our sort of international market is key to grow community where there isn't community. And internally, we've got some focus points for next year as well, and certainly AI conversational support points will be very important, that in a service operation.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Can I just, before we close, you heard it here first that there will still be jobs.
They will.
Can I just confirm that you are not a robot?
Currently, I am far from a robot, but strategically, no, I'm not a robot. But hopefully, you never know. Strategically, I'm a robot.
This is going slightly off.
Just a bit. But what I'm hoping to do is meld with blockchain in the not too distant future.
Okay.
Well, good luck with that, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.